I mean, it was Game of Thrones. Like, it was Game of Thrones. No, you got to know. Right now, it's not a battle of is this show good or not. This is a battle of are you going to disappoint me like you did last time?
Ooh, he's
Because
scarred. He's scarred.
basically, like, for me, I was like, if I had never been disappointed like last time, I'd be like, this show's already going to be great. Like, it's giving me the exact same rhythms that I felt, actually a little bit faster than it was for Game of Thrones initially, because first Game of Thrones really took about 4 episodes before you really caught into its rhythm, because they were just doing setup and setup and setup and setup and setup for 4 episodes, and then we got the first death. This one, it was like, okay, we're right off the bat, we're cutting people's balls off, the orgy, we got the dragons flying around, decapitations, you know, disembowelments. We got the full regard, you know.
Yep.
It should set up, but it's not about the setup for me anymore. You've done this. You had already won me. Now it's how are you going to end this? How are you going? Are you guys going to tease me about something that is coming so that I have to sit and wait until it, or are you guys going to give me consistent conclusions and tie-ins to stories that are somehow still going to find a way to relate to me of the other ones while also maintaining itself? So I'm working under a whole different impression with this one. So in a surface sense, I enjoyed the episode. It was good. It was brutal. It was emotional. It set up the characters. It looks great. You know, it has it. But, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
Gift is scarred. Are you scarred like that, JP? Are you on edge?
I'm still I'm happy about it. But I just don't want to get too excited because, like you've said, you know, we might end up like with a disappointing ending or something. So I'm still traumatized. But I mean, I still like Game of Thrones how it ended. It could have been better if George R. Martin just finished those damn books. But you know, it is what it is, and I'm just trying not to get too invested in it right now. I mean, I enjoyed it, and it's really good. I'm just trying to be reserved about it.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. We all have our coping mechanisms with the trauma. I just took the episode for me for what first episode, let's just see where we're going to go with this. The big difference is obviously there's a whole different creative team involved.
Right.
And George R. Martin is part of that creative team, which is probably why he hasn't finished his books yet. He's part of that creative team. So what this series won't do that the other one did was fall off the edge of the cliff. So the George R. Martin, what was the last book in the Ice and Fire series that he's written? What's the last book?
I don't remember the name.
The one with the white cover. Hang on.
The one that finished off, because the series, the books went like that. Sorry, the books went like that. The TV show went like that.
It's a Dance with Dragons.
The TV show went like that, and this is Dance with Dragons.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what happened. It went off the cliff because there was no more, and Dan and Dave are not George Martin. But, so I do share a lot of your reservations, but just taking it for what it is, with the idea in the back of my mind that George R. Martin is undergirding this one, and he's going to provide us the foundation for it all the way through to the end.
Will he though? Will he take us to the end, or is he going to be like, hey, you know, it's been like 3 seasons.
I can't believe. I know he just shrugged his shoulders at the way Game of Thrones ended. Said, well, that's just the book. But I can't believe for a minute that he didn't go, shit. I'm going to have to do this myself.
Yeah.
Right? I can't believe that he didn't go. All you had to do was just do what I tell you and finish it, and you couldn't do it right. I also believe that surely there's enough smart people in HBO and this producing team that
already
saw what happened.
Already disagree with that point. Enough smart people, they're all fired. All right. They're all fired at this point.
Well, they just started the series, so they can't be fired
HBO
yet.
Max and Discovery are just letting everybody go.
Well, I really believe that the people who have got on now on that show will have seen what happened. And I believe that there's got to be, you're right, we're probably asking, common sense is not as common as you think it is. But I'm still believing that this first episode I just wanted to see is, right, it's just like that team you follow. Unfortunately, it's my team at the moment in sport that always lose in the last quarter of the game.
Yeah.
Right. And in the first 5 minutes, you go, oh, so far, so good. But you know there's always that possibility that they're going to let the other team overrun themselves. So, but the first 5 minutes or the first hour, the first is what it is. And all we can hope is that the next one's going to be good. And the one after is going to be good. And they're good. And I thought the first one was really good. And I'm glad they kind of have taken some of the key elements, like you said, a little bit of violence, a little bit of orgy, and have kept it in there. But I remember if you remember the pilot episode to the first one, which had that huge shock at the end, right, where they just had
where they pushed them off the tower, right?
You saw a brother and sister having sex and a little child getting thrown out the window. Like that, it was the most. I still remember where I was when I saw that and went, what is this show? This is off the scale. I'm glad they didn't try to do that. I'm glad that they finished on a very different note. That's a pretty powerful note. So I'm hoping they're just going to keep those key elements, but say, hey, this is still its own thing. I've seen some people worried about that it won't have the same scope because it's going to be the Targaryen Civil War. And you've seen already. I watched it twice, and I saw little bits of there's House Baratheon mentioned there, or you see House Baratheon,
and Stark were mentioned as well too.
Remember the first one started in what's his name? First one started in Westeros. No, not Westeros.
In
Winterfell.
Winterfell, yeah.
And then spread out. So it may happen like that again, but it's pretty. It'll be a much narrower focus.
Yeah.
But that's okay. You know, that's okay. It's got to be different.
Yeah.
Sorry, JP.
Did you see at the naming of the heir? Did you see Robert Baratheon? Like that will like.
It wasn't Robert Baratheon. It's Baratheon's ancestor. Robert Baratheon's clearly not alive for another 100 years.
Baratheon dude have that look, and then the little princess is having another look. I was like,
I didn't see that. Oh gosh.
Feel bad.
Yeah.
They had those looks. Like I'm gonna do this.
The one scene that reminded me that this was Game of Thrones, Take No Prisoners, was the scene where Hightower said to his daughter, "Go visit the Morning King and put your mother's dress on." I went, welcome back, Martin. Welcome back, world of Game of Thrones. That's the kind of grotesque crap that does happen in this series. You forget that, don't you? Like, it's not the orgy that freaks you out sometimes. It's like
it's the incest.
He's sending his daughter to the Morning King, who's about 3 times older than her,
and to comfort him. To
comfort cleavage. Him. Oh,
yeah.
But
I mean,
that's the show. That's what we signed up for.
I think one thing that's really uniquely interesting about the show, and it's not so much about the interior, it's more so about how it affects the audience, is how this show manages to still bring us back to unified viewing. Like everybody did it at the same relative time. Yep. It ran through the news, and I'm like, we've done this before, but why does this work so well versus other shows that don't hit the same? And honestly, it seems to be back in this like this dark age, medieval age, time period, because it's the same with The Handmaid's Tale, which I know is futuristic, but conceptually in that, or what it used to be with that one show that was on PBS, the Winterfell House, it was a royalty show. I don't remember.
I think I know that one.
Yeah, but it's these medieval shows that I'm curious, because I remember there was a time where they were at their heights in the mid 90s, and then they kind of just dropped off altogether, and then somewhere around Which one?
A Knight's Tale, like with
No,
Heath Ledger?
not that movie. No. Like, but that was part of the drop off. But I'm talking about it was
Richard Gere's
No,
and
no.
Sean.
Yeah.
no, it was another show that I was talking about. No,
Yeah, I mean, what's
But
the
it-
you got the Crown? Are you talking about shows like The Crown? That's the one about the
no,
Queen.
this was on it was like The Crown, but it was like it was like a Bridgerton Crown thing.
Right. Yeah.
It was like
Okay.
late 2000s, early 2010s.
Right. Okay.
Um, it's gonna come to me after we get off this, but it's very interesting that this genre doesn't do well in terms of movies. Ironically, they don't do great in terms of movies, but they do really well in terms of episodicness, and it seems to have this universality of like everybody gets in of it. I don't know, maybe if it's just people see that it's not held back, or it's of a time that feels raw, so people feel more willing to accept it for its time, and hence more risks are being able to be taken with it versus bringing it to a show that would be based in today. And it's like, because like, think about it, like movies and shows that were made of its time, that were made in like 2000s, late 90s, early 2010s, people wouldn't want to see those. Like The Hangover again could not happen,
Right.
The first season of The Office could not happen. You couldn't have another American Pie like that happening.
Right.
But these rawness elements can exist inside this medieval time, and everybody joins in to watch it. It's a very unique ripple effect that I'm very interested in, the psychological effect that we have with these shows from a watching standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, this first episode, doubled the numbers of viewers from Stranger Things.
Yeah,
and Stranger Things had lots of viewers, doubled it. So
this went back to original network TV numbers.
Yeah, this is the trauma. Despite all the trauma, people came back into this because they want to see something. There's something about those first 5 or 6 episodes people are dying to get back to. Yeah. There's something in that. Yeah, you're right. That medieval politics, power, romance, love, war. It's but not in our time, but in another time.
Yeah.
In fact, in another universe,
Exactly.
So fantasy. I mean, this one crosses into fantasy, and be interesting as we go now into Tolkien's fantasy. Tolkien and Martin, if the geeks of the world are, kind of arguing about which one.
Who's a better copy of the other?
Well, it was one copy of the other. The other one doesn't copy them. There's a good what is it? Rap battles of history between Tolkien and Martin, which is really good. But but to me, they're very different fantasies. They're very. One is, Martin has said straight out he got Jon Snow's ending from the Lord of the Rings, from Frodo's journey. But to me, they're still very different in so many ways. One is poetic, is fantasy. Ones I call it pure fantasy, elves and stuff like that. It's not interested in the politics of everything as much as it's interested in emotions and feelings and bravery and strength and honor and grief. The other one is political. It's more grounded in, you could easily take, when they sit down at the council at this first episode, you could see. I'm glad I watched the second time. If you watch the second time, you'll see the eyes shooting across the table.
Yeah.
Like you can see the cutaway shots.
No trust. There's always a chance of backstabbing. It is.
You can see how the agenda, even when they're saying something, you can tell when they're lying, or you can tell when they're holding back. And Reese Fiennes kind of was really good at that. Him and the guy down the end,
the black dude,
the Hightower guy. That you can see they looking at each other going, but they're too majestic to go like that. They're too refined, you know.
So it's not a fantasy, not series. It's a political drama set in
In
a
a fantasy world.
medieval
I
fictional.
I just say it's a different genre of fantasy. Like it's created its own subgenre.
It's almost what
Um,
George Lucas wanted to try and create from the first three,
Star
the
Wars.
second trilogy, first three episodes of Star Wars,
Yeah.
but wasn't able to create that same existing feeling.
Yeah.
You know, like you got the politicalness, but you didn't get any of the drama. You didn't feel like there was a power battle for the throne, even though it was supposed to be seen, but it didn't feel felt.
Yeah.
George Lucas
Yeah.
was a poor man's George R.R. Martin.
Well, I mean, what I like about Martin is that he doesn't. His strength is obviously that political stuff. Like
Yeah.
he talks a lot about how he got a lot of his ideas from Scottish and English history, but I don't think
Makes sense.
he does it at the expense of everything else.
Yeah.
I think he the romance stuff between characters, the love between characters, the feelings is genuine and legit. I think that the passions and even the fantasy elements are still really strong. Like it's not that he's weak in that area and super strong in that. He's strong across the board, in my opinion.
Let's remind our friends to please click on the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when we have new videos out.
Subscribe.
Die. Oh, die.